You have my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
Claire, I'm not standing here asking you to marry me. I'm just asking you not to marry him.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
We're fighting an army of robots. And I have a bow and arrow.
It's the Al Travis Show. Our next guest, I've had him on a few times. Really enjoy him. He's Representative Max Rymer. Representative, I don't know if I've ever asked, where are you from and what do you do for folks who don't know off the top?
Yeah, well, my wife and I live in North Branch, Minnesota. That's where I'm a representative up in Chisago County. I'm originally from Wisconsin, but I do digital marketing. I own a digital marketing agency when I'm not at the legislature. And
Okay.
Even when I am at the legislature, I suppose.
Yeah, got to keep the doors open. All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Want to ask you a couple of things. It seems, because you're politically minded, heck, you're in politics, it seems really late to me that the state fair is going to be over and the Democrats don't know who's running for governor yet. On the Republican side, we at least have three, right? You've got Qualls and Dr. Jensen, and Kristen Robbins is now in the game. At least they're in, they're at the fair. Do you recall a time we've gotten this late into a gubernatorial run where one side hasn't at least got people saying they wanted the job?
The one time that comes to mind was 2018, right? And I foresee us having another 2018 on the Democrat side, because 2018, that's when Lori Swanson decided she was going to run for governor. And then you had this Democrat musical chairs that started happening, where Keith Ellison decided he was going to run for attorney general. Ilhan Omar jumps in for CD5. And again, it was musical chairs. The rumblings that I hear and the people I talk to, it seems like Walz is trending more and more towards not running again.
Yep.
And his reason might make less sense to me and you than what we think the reason would be. My understanding is Tim Walz would not want to run again because he and Gwen Walz are more interested in running for president again. And he doesn't want to muck up what he perceives to be his legacy by having another term as governor. So I would just say, no, it's getting pretty late in the process for both Republicans and Democrats to jump into these races. But I have a feeling, Al, that we're going to have that musical chairs shortly after Labor Day again.
Would people take this? Let me ask you, let's talk rumors for just a moment, people. Complete rumor and fabrication as far as I know, but I'd like it. As I understand it, what you said about wanting to run for president and or vice president is very appealing to the Walzes. So what I hear is they've been in contact with Amy Klobuchar, who, by the way, spoke just before he did at the DNC convention this week. Coincidence? I don't know. But have talked to her and said, how would you like to go for governor? Because they think she'd be a shoo-in, right? Who's going to be on Amy at the job. So then she becomes governor. She's been a senator and a governor. Should she want to run for president? Isn't that a nice setup for her? And then you have Walz, who will then be appointed to the empty Senate seat that she would vacate. She would then give it to him. Now he has governor and Senate stuff. He didn't lose an election, so he's still up for the vice president presidency if he wants it. The musical chairs is what you're talking about. I just wonder if Senator Klobuchar will tarnish her reputation for that. Everybody loves Aunt Amy. Aunt Amy is a great gal. She's Minnesota nice. She's like us. If she played the old switcheroo game, I think she ruins her reputation. That's the rumor I heard. How crazy is that game of checkers?
No, that's really interesting. I had not heard that specific angle of it. But the other thing that you got to keep in mind too, Al, is Amy, throughout her entire career as a senator, you kind of get to backbench it. You don't need to come out and be controversial and make super hard decisions when you're one of 100. If she were to be governor, she'd probably have to make some pretty unpopular decisions because that's, as a chief executive, that's what you have to do. So I don't know how this all plays out, but you and I talked off air, and there's going to be a lot of, if this does happen how I think it's going to happen, there's going to be a lot of consternation about Democrats are in chaos. It's all chaotic. They're all at each other's throats. what we can't underestimate as Republicans is Democrats still have the machine, and the machine will fall behind whoever the candidate is.
Yeah.
And
as we talked about it, we can throw it out here. That is the exact opposite of what the MNGOP has. They have a machine that was, as soon as you tell us who to plug in here, we're going to kick up and go. The Republican Party is, disarray is such an easy word to use, but it isn't the same machine, is it?
No, I mean, if you want to use the word disarray, for all intents and purposes, the party unit has been in somewhat disarray for the last 20 years, and where Democrats are allowed to make a ton of mistakes because you have a ton of money behind them, Republicans, to get through, you have to fit the camel through the eye of the needle in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Oh, very, very true. But much like 2018, go back, I haven't seen, in my opinion, Minnesota as set up to turn over. Now, maybe since Ventura days, right? I mean, he came out of nowhere. But the idea that you talk to Minnesotans, my golf group, I don't have any people, my golf group, and I said, so we're talking, so what makes you happy about what Minnesota's doing now? And the platitudes, it's a great state to live in, and the fishing. I said, no, politically, what are you happy about? Education, we spent more than we ever have, and numbers are down. Right? Crime is up, even though we spend money, and it's down. How much fraud how many picks of the fraud camel can you go until that falls over?
Yeah,
and
keep coming.
To a man, my left and right friends, they could not come up with a substantive thing saying, well, this is better than it was before Walz.
Yeah.
How is it we don't have 25 people trying to get this seat?
I do not know. And I think there should be. I think the field needs to be more robust because as I look at it, being heavily involved in the 2022 campaign, I would say that was a much more robust field. I think by this point in time, we had 10 people, nine legitimate candidates at this point last time around. And I think at some point, and I don't know when it is, Al, we are going to have to acknowledge as Minnesotans that we have hit rock bottom or close to it, where we are a national embarrassment on fraud. Education is not working. We took a $16 billion surplus and it became a deficit, more than that, $18 billion, and became a deficit. And that is the thing that encourages me, if there's anything, is that hopefully Minnesotans are annoyed and frustrated and exhausted by the constant fraud, the constant spending. And the thing that encourages me is I think Tim Walz jumped the shark on this. And hopefully there's political retribution and the voters are sick of it. That's what encourages me. And if I were a statewide candidate, that's what I'd be looking at.
Can we, I love the jump the shark reference, a Fonzie thing from the Happy Days, TV reference, people. He might have jumped the shark. I completely agree. Let's go to the break. And on the other side, what I'd like to talk about is, can we get a candidate who can push the right buttons but not offend? And I'll talk to you about why. It was what happened at the DNC between Senator Hoffman, a friend of this program, and the governor. They were two absolutely different speeches at the same time. We'll talk about it next with Max Rymer on the Al Travis Show.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc. Midwest Money Management and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
Al Travis Show, the last place you can go and hear all sides. Respectful, thoughtful, and grateful.
For folks who don't know, Representative Max Rymer was very involved. He was big in the last election. He is one of those guys who understands how this all works. So this is where I come from on this question, Representative. So in that DNC meeting, and I don't know if you watched it or not, it's the other team, but I enjoy watching these things. Senator John Hoffman gets up, does a nice 10 minutes. I mean, he's talking to his people, I get it. But he called, and this according to K11 as well, he called Democrats to restore public trust in politics, recognize the harm of conspiracy theories, dehumanizing rhetoric, and political radicalization. He says, I believe Americans of Minnesota want to talk to each other again without demeaning and without a threat of violence. The guy rocked it. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of mine. I'm telling you, he rocked it.
Yeah.
2 speakers later, Governor Walz comes up, and besides swearing, I think 4 or 5 times, think about how easy it'd be to be a dang Republican. What I got to wear today? A stupid red hat. Who am I going to listen to? That guy, the fat, what do you call him? A man-child, fat ankles.
Creature? Didn't he call him like a creature in the White House or something like that? Yeah.
My point is, did he not? Was he not in the room when John Hoffman set the table and said we got to be better, and we weren't better? He wasn't, but I was disappointed. Again, it's not my meeting. I understand that, but here's what I want to know: do we have someone on the Republican side who can be gubernatorial without falling like this? They yell at Trump for being such a crazy lunatic madman, then they join him at the bottom of the barrel. I want somebody who isn't running for 6th grade class president and is running for governor. Do we have somebody that can do that and stay focused without going like this?
We'll see. We'll see. The Republican process is difficult, right? Because you have to first appeal to the base, and then when you get through that process, you then can run in a general, and you can't change that message too much without it being viewed as insincere or you're just playing politics or whatever. But the trap that we often find ourselves in is that, I've been part of this, right? Like a candidate will say something early on in the process, and then the Democrats have $40 million of ad spend waiting for that soundbite down the road. But all that to be said, I think when normal Minnesotans do see just how unhinged Tim Walz has become, and the fact that he is in his own right running to his base because he wants to run for president or get back in the national scene again, I don't think that's going to resonate with Minnesotans when he is cussing all the time, when he is demeaning and dehumanizing Republicans. Like, I think about when Tim Walz in that speech said, well, these are fascists. That means I'm a fascist, and that would be news to my family for sure, if that's the case.
See, but I guess my point is, can somebody in the GOP figure it out that of all the things we talk about on a daily, education, we've spent more money, but we're getting less out of it. That doesn't have to become a name-calling thing. It's literally in your face. My base has got to eat that up. The left's got to say this isn't right anymore. If you say we can't just give our money away, when we set up a program where you don't have to do anything except send us names and we'll send you a check, the fraud is rampant. And if we just stayed focused on that, you're not saying little Timmy Walls or tampon, all that. You don't have to, because I think people realize it. But if we can get back to civil discourse, the first one to do that, I think really will gain an upper hand. People say, I can live with that. And I don't know if it's Robbins. I don't know if it's Jensen. I don't know if it's Qualls now or who else gets in. But do we have the person that can be that aggressive without calling names? That's what I want.
From what I've seen, I think all the candidates in the field right now do have a sense of message discipline at this point. Sometimes that's been like hard earned from past elections, but there's that. And then no matter what you say, there's the money that you have to put behind the message in order to break through and paint yourself as reasonable and all that jazz. And that to me, Al, is the big question mark this election cycle.
Well, and it always has been on the Republican side. So again, I don't know how you fix the MNGOP in any kind of short-term plan to get that organized, but we got to do what we got to do. I had 2 other topics. Real quick, Your thoughts on the judge in Ramsey County that said the binary trigger thing in the omnibus bill in 2024 is pulled out. You can't put it in there. It's done. And he pretty much said, you all might want to look at what else was in that thing because I think you can pull it out too. What is that going to do for you all, Max? I'm sorry, Representative Rymer. What's that going to do for you in your line of work? Are you talking to others saying, watch out, omnibuses are gone?
That's what my prayer is, and that's what my prayer has always been, is that we get back to a true single subject mindset in session, and that'll mean everything's a lot less convenient. That'll mean you can't package everything up how you want it sometimes if you're in power. But what I'm hoping is that this lawsuit opens the door for other, like, kind of tit for tat, pick your piece of poison pill that you want to take out from that bill. And I want to have that discussion. I want the lawsuits to come, and I want to have a real discussion about how we can actually legislate in Minnesota.
See, I love that time. And back to the fraud. I believe if there was all you were sitting around and you're saying, well, we'd like to help poor homeless people get housing. And someone said, I got the idea. We're going to play the Al Travis's $70 an hour to just go talk for 150 hours to a homeless guy, and we'll see if that doesn't help. I would imagine somebody would step up and say, that sounds a little loosey-goosey to me. We could, you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't have went anywhere. And then if it did, and every Democrat said that was a bright idea, I'll vote for it, we know what they stand for. Everyone can say, I didn't know that was in there. It's too big a bill. It's 1,400. I hate that crap. I really would like to get back to single bills.
One good thing that happened this past legislative session was we really reduced and almost ended the practice of naming nonprofits in legislation. So when we pass budgets, there aren't earmarked nonprofits that get this money. However, Al, we still have a problem where government implementation of programs still falls to this big nebulous pool of nonprofits. And until we get away from that, this fraud is going to be unending, in my opinion. We're going to keep hearing stories about fraud.
I think penalties have to be more. The long story, we're not going to have time to. One of the people that pled guilty just got fined 3 years in jail for feeding the future scandal, and she has to pay back the $47 million. Max, at some point you do the math. $47 million, 3 years. I don't know. It might actually be worth it.
I mean, yeah, because I assume you probably write off the $47 million at some point, or it goes into collections or whatever. But
and if that isn't in some Swiss bank account, you're really a moron. So you're not going to have to pay it back. Yeah,
yeah. 3 years. 3 years. Imagine what your normal earning would be in 3 years if you had a bachelor's degree. That's what you can compare it to.
There you go. Representative, I appreciate you coming to the show. You're always a lot of fun. I thank you for taking the time and being here. All right. He's Representative Max Rymer on the Al Travis Show.